Right, sorry about that. I'm back. Now I'm just doing a little detour over here. We're going to go back around. I was literally just on the Game Drive radio with Shanae, and our squirrel didn't come out again. Very upset about that. We need some time to recover. However, she has fed me some fantastic news, and we're going to move straight out of Arathusa, and we're going to go down Triple M and race down Gowrie, Main. Stand by 2 seconds, I'll tell you why. Stand by, Shanae. Negative. I've just come back to work, so I'm not sure, but I don't think so. So just checking, Shanae was asking about the Nkuhumas. So now the reason why we want to race down towards Baboon Pan, so that's opposite Twin Dams, is because Hosana is apparently in that area. And because it's nice and open, we may actually get a chance. And I haven't seen, and I've just pulled my earpiece out, I have not seen Hosana for quite some time. So I think, is this the cut line? You think so? Should we just take a risk? Let me double check, because I was also on the GPS reading. Let's just quickly triple check. I don't know. Feel like we are being a bit rebel. We'll go quickly. David, hold on. We're going. Ferrari Safari. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I definitely want to get down to that area, just so that we can have a look. Because if he comes into our property, that'll be fantastic. And well, from what Tristan and everyone said, David, I don't know if we're on Arathusa anymore. I don't think we are. Are we? Think so? We'll just go with it. And Tristan was telling me how big Hosana has got, which is so exciting. So I'm going to do that. David and I are going to race on over. We've got quite a distance to cover. And we're going to send you across to Jamie, who is having all the luck today.
We've actually had a fantastic afternoon, Senzo and myself, and now we've just left the cheetah and found ourselves what looks like, I think, a small bachelor herd of young elephant bulls. What a nice surprise this has been. And they are thoroughly enjoying the fresh green grass, or what remains of it, before we go into our dry season. And he's using his trunk to gather up clumps of the grass. See how he's beating it? And he's doing that because basically, like human beings, or like most human beings, except for myself as a child, he does not quite like the taste of dirt. He doesn't really want to eat sand with his fresh, yummy green grass, so he uses his trunk to sort of shake it about and beat it till the seeds and well, not so much the seeds, till the grains of dirt and the insects get off it, and he can eat it unimpeded without the crunch of sand. There he goes, swinging it around. The one thing I love to watch is young elephants, baby elephants, when they're first learning that whole process of how to shake the dirt off grass. And they don't always get it right the first time. As you know, baby elephants have very uncoordinated trunks, just like baby humans have relatively uncoordinated hands. They have to learn to use it, just like kids have to learn to grab things, close their fists, draw, write, all of those fine motor things. And a baby elephant basically has to learn as well, not writing, but to use its trunk in the way that an adult elephant can. And that trunk is the most amazing thing. There are so many things it is capable of doing. Huge feats of strength in breaking branches. And then the delicacy to grab up a bunch of grass, sweep it, and then reposition it and pop it into its mouth without dropping too much of it. Nobody would ever accuse elephants of being tidy eaters, though. Hey, mister. You are such a nice surprise. You can see the muscles of his jaw working all the way up into his temple as he chews. He is beautiful. Look at those eyelashes. What a lovely variety of animals we've had this afternoon. Giraffe and cheetah and elephant and ground hornbill. That's very special. Hey, mister, you are a nice surprise. How would you feel if perhaps we sidled up just a little bit closer, so that we can have a look at you in greater detail? I think that would be fine. Here we go. Let's go forward a little bit. And these clearings, particularly around this tiny little dip, this tiny drainage line, it's actually home to a species of grass known as red grass. Oh, it isn't a bachelor herd, it's a herd. There's some more in there, over there, off to my right. So red grass is one of the best quality grasses that we get out here, Thermida triandra, and it is a grass that all sorts of things, buffalo, rhino, white rhino in particular, and of course elephants really truly enjoy feeding on. It's highly palatable for them, and it's also exceptionally nutritionally valuable. The red grass fields are where you find a lot of animals during the summer, or during our rainy season at least. Now, just a user, you want to know how much an elephant will eat in one day. It depends on, I know this sounds like a trite answer, I'll give you a more exact one in a moment, but it does depend upon the size of the elephant. A small elephant like this, and this is quite a small elephant, you're probably looking at under 200 kilograms of food, which is under 400 pounds, or around about there. A big bull elephant, on the other hand, can eat between 250 to even up to 300 kilograms of food in one day, and they will defecate out about half of that, or about a third of that. So that's 300 kilograms of food and potentially 100 kilograms of dung at the end of that whole digestive process. So that's a very big elephant bull. For little chaps like this one, 150 to 200, I imagine, would not be uncommon. That's a huge amount of food every single day. And it has to be, because it has to maintain their absolutely massive body size. Yes, give that grass a good sweep. Here we go. I know I'm looking at an elephant right now, and it's just a product of my inability to focus on them, just them, but the quilias are back. And I'm hoping they're going to come out into the open so I can show you what I mean. Flocks or murmurations of red-billed quelia, I think, are going to be spectacular in this afternoon light. But I'm not going to abandon our elephant just yet. Oh, you've got grass on the top of your head, mister. Look at that. The latest in elephant fashion. And that's just all fallen up there from where he's been shaking the grass about. Now, we often get asked, while we watch our elephant feed, oh, this is so beautiful, we often get asked about, the elephant is flapping its ears, does that not mean that it's angry with you? And we can see that this elephant isn't angry with us, just from his body language. His ears are flapping because he is cooling himself down every now and again. There we go. It's basically an inbuilt air conditioning unit, a way of regulating his internal body temperature. And you can actually see how close the blood vessels are to the surface in those massive ears. It's his way of cooling himself down. Muhammad, so much so that Muhammad has said he's about to fly away with those ears. Well, Muhammad, I've seen a house fly, but I ain't never seen an elephant fly. That will only make sense if you've watched Dumbo. And I really wish I could have remembered more of the song at the spur of the moment. Pretty sure those sorts of scenes would not be allowed in kids' movies anymore. And now, Pink Elephants is in my head, but I shall try not to hum that all the way home. Hey, mister, we're calling you Dumbo. We don't really mean it. But those massive ears, of course, serve a very important purpose. Not quite to the point of being able to allow him to fly off and join a travelling circus, for which we are most thankful. But it does help him to cool down with those blood vessels all close to the surface. It's so peaceful here. And we are the only person on Cheetah Plains. It's utterly glorious. We have this entire place to ourselves. I think these are the sorts of moments we're going to miss. Interesting question from Thomas. I spoke initially, I thought this was a bachelor herd. I now see that it's in fact a young bull with the rest of his herds. But Thomas would like to know, do the bachelor groups or do the bachelor elephants have the same memory retention in order to be able to find water during a drought? Yes, would be my answer. And I think there is something instinctively that tells them which way to go and where to search for water. As to the extent to which they remember where the water holes are, or perhaps where there is some kind of inherited memory of where the water is, it's difficult to ever know for certain, and I guess we may not know that about elephants ever. But it is something that has been speculated about for many, many years. Yes, I think that the big bulls know where to go. The younger bulls might form together and follow behind the elephant herds. Either way, they seem to be quite good at covering distance and finding the water that they need, and digging for water as well, of course, which is a process that elephants follow that actually really helps out all of the animals, not just the elephants. You read tales of lone bulls covering, back in the day, thousands of kilometers. Chris, moving on to slightly more enjoyable subjects. Chris would like to know, if I played music, would the elephant dance to it? Chris, that is a very good question. Before I go into too much detail, I do actually know of somebody who found himself in a herd of elephants in the middle of the night, a very angry herd of elephants, and he claims that singing to them was the only way in which he managed to calm them down. Make of that story as you will, but I'm not sure that they would dance. Now I can only see, now you've just reinforced the whole pink elephant thing. Megan would like me to send you back across to Tristan. I was about to play music, but then I thought about it and I thought actually the sound, the electronic sound, the electronic sound is probably not going to be a very welcome noise to these elephants. I don't think they'll react all that much. I certainly don't think they're going to dance, but I was going to play them a little bit of Leonard Cohen. Let's try, we'll play it softly and see if they'll sway. You can imagine that they're dancing.
I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you
Look, Chris, he's dancing.
really care for music, do you?
I don't think he cares for music, though.
It goes like this.
Okay.
Forth the
We
faith,
have gone
the mind,
into the realms of the absurd once again. But these are what these last few drives are going to be about. Sharing these somewhat peculiar moments with all of you before we move across to East Africa. Look, he's dancing, see? Alright. Okay. Sorry, Leonard. As much as I would like to listen to that whole song, you did have a talent for particularly long songs. I think while I sit and sway with the elephants, we'd better send you across to Tristan, who's got something very large, but that's not an elephant.
Indeed we do. It is very, very large, and it is not an elephant, but it does love water like elephants. So we've got a grumpy hippo bull that is sitting in the dam and is calling away. Now what we also have approaching us very carefully and stealthily is Miss Taylor McCurdy. Now she's looking for Hasana. We're actually at Twin Dams, and Hasana is straight south of us at the moment. I can actually see the cars where he is. So he's just on the south. Unfortunately we can't see him yet, but hopefully he's going to come up and come towards us. But there you can see Taylor. Isn't she looking fantastic after her holiday to Australia? Look at her. There we go. For all the men out there, they'll be very chuffed to see Taylor McCurdy blowing a... Sorry? We got it. Thank you very much, Taylor. Like I just said, all the men will be very happy to have gotten that. I think that leopard's coming north, by the way. Their cars are coming. Okay, so as you can hear, Taylor is going to wait and try and see if Hasana is going to come north. But I just see the cars are moving around a little bit south of us, and I can hear them moving, which means that potentially that he's coming up. Now I know he was resting on a termite mound just to the south of us, and he was looking for terrapins. Now there's a series of mud wallows that comes back this way, so I'm hoping that's where he's going to pop out. So all fingers crossed that we'll get a nice Hasana end to our game drive. Now our hippo bull, you can see, is kind of up and down. He's just keeping a beady eye on us at the moment. He's got his head and up above water, but the rest of his body is submerged. So he's trying to hide away, but he's exposing his senses because he knows us on the dam wall is where a threat would come from. So his ears, his eyes, and his nostrils are all on that level plane that he can just get up above the surface of the water and be able to then hear, see, and smell what's going on. Now this particular hippo can sometimes be a little bit grumpy, and he does display quite a bit. So I've seen him at times opening his mouth, splashing water, showing us his teeth, and that's all just to try and intimidate us and to say that I am the boss of this little pan that we're at and that I control what's going on. So when we see that, we know that he's displaying towards us. Now this hippo at the moment has got no other hippos around him, and he moves quite a bit. So I've spoke to one of the guys that owns Little Gari, and he was saying that he goes all the way to in front of their camp, which is a pan that is about 1 kilometer south of us, and he goes from there to here and bounces around between the two. So he's quite an active hippo, this, and it's because he's still a young male. You can see his head hasn't developed to the size of a really big adult male. He's still not small, but he's not really massive, and so he's not big enough yet to challenge in terms of going into Chitwa Dam or Buffelshoek Dam, where there might be some females that he can potentially mate with. But I was hoping he was going to show us some teeth and display for us, because it is amazing to see how wide the hippo's mouth goes, and it's quite something when they start throwing water at you. And there we go, there's a bit of a bubble blowing, again just to make a bit of noise, just to intimidate us a little bit. Isn't that sound amazing? So that is one of those typical sounds of Africa. So H. Macy, you're asking how fast can hippos move? Well, hippos, surprisingly, even though they're quite big animals, can actually move really quickly. So in water like this hippo will be, look, he's going to yawn. So those of you like screenshots, now's the time. There we go. Oh, and he's gone under, but he's going to throw water. There we go. Isn't that amazing? So I hope some of you got that on screenshots. Remember to show us on #SafariLive. But I was saying how fast they can move. A hippo will be able to do about 20 to 25 kilometers in water, 25 to 25 kilometers an hour when I talk about moving in water. And on land, he's going to do it again. On land, he'll be able to do close to 35. So really are quite fast when they want to run, even though they're big animals with stubby legs. Now let's see if he's going to do the same again and launch himself out. Isn't that amazing? Now you can see why they're so dangerous. When they open their mouth like that, you can imagine if they attack a person, they would basically get the whole person in their mouth and then close the jaws and inflict some serious damage. So it's something we've got to be really careful of out here. When they're in water like this, they know that water is the safe point, and so generally it's okay. But as soon as they go on land is when you've got to be very careful. He's going to do it again. Let's see if he's going to pop up like he did just now. Isn't this amazing? So now's the time of day when they do it. When you come at sunset, they tend to do this quite a bit. They tend to show their teeth and really try and make as big a display as possible. If you came here during the middle of the day, you'd find he'd be a little bit sedate, and because of the sun, wouldn't move around nearly as much. But now it's that time where he's thinking about coming out, and so he's showing everybody and showing us, I am the dominant male of this particular waterhole. Don't get any ideas while I'm out feeding tonight to come and take over my waterhole. And so that's what that's all about. But it's incredible to also see the size of those teeth. Can you imagine those teeth when they're fighting and these two males come together like that with those mouths open and they clash, and all this biting and scraping that will go on? It will really be quite something. Now luckily I've got Herbie with me, and that's why I can turn my back to this hippo, because hippos, even when they are in water, even though it is a safe place for them, you've got to be a little bit careful, and you've got to make sure that you don't get yourself into too much trouble. So presenting your back to water is never the best idea in Africa. Also, we know that there has been crocodiles in here. Luckily we're right up on the dam wall, so we don't have to worry too much about crocodiles, but generally if there's water, you don't want to have your back to it, because crocodiles could also be a threat. But it seems our hippo is calming down now, and it's probably because we're not moving around too much. He would have also maybe gotten a little bit sort of thrown out of kilter by the fact that I was talking to Taylor and we were talking across this little section, which would have made me speak quite a little bit louder, and that would have maybe concerned him a little bit as well. But he seems to have calmed down now, and it is the most beautiful evening on the dam wall here. We've got this spectacular view of the clouds that are just disappearing, the sun that's just set now, so it is really such a special place to be in. When we sit in a situation like this with a hippo behind you, a leopard to the south of you, sun setting like this, it is such a special feeling, and you realize just how fortunate we are to be out here and to be able to experience this and live in amongst this. It's a very, very special feeling indeed. Now I have been looking around for any other little monitor lizards, but I think it's a little bit late for them. They might be going into areas just to hide out for the night. They know that the predators will be around, so I haven't seen the monitor lizard that we saw yesterday when we came past here. It doesn't seem like he's home in his tree. He was sitting in a tree just to the south of us, in the middle of this little muddy wallow. There's a tree there, and he was sitting on that branch, but I don't see him now. So he might be down already hunting. It would have used the sun's rays during the day today to heat up, and now will be starting to hunt again. In these little thickets where there'll be lots of frogs and varying other small water insects that he can go after. We saw earlier when we were looking at the algae how there was spiders, there was butterflies, and so for a monitor lizard they'll eat all of those things to be able to sustain themselves. But alas, no sign of him, and also no sign of any terrapins. So if Hosana does come this way, he's going to have to keep his eyes out, because I haven't seen any terrapins, but they luckily have far better eyesight and hearing than I do, so hopefully he does come up here and he's able to find his terrapins. Now I know Taylor is looking for him, so hopefully her eyesight will be like Hosana's and she'll be able to spot him.
I was indeed looking for him, but I've been distracted. Now I'm trying to turn around because of the beautiful, oh my goodness, the beautiful sunset. Now I've just got to be very careful because I don't want to drive on anyone else's property, David. And you are going to see a bit of the power line. How's that? Is that alright? Now we are on the main road still, so you can indeed see the beautiful power lines in the distance. But look at those lovely rays coming off of the sun. Now that's almost how we were taught to draw a sun when we were kids, and I'm sure you had the same. You'd sort of make a semicircle on the corner of a page, and then you'd add straight lines to it. So that's the first time I've ever seen the sun looking like that. But of course that's just thanks to the clouds. But it is absolutely beautiful, and I can't believe that we were facing the wrong way the entire time, eh David? It's just popped out from out of that big cloud, and now is about to disappear behind the horizon. Now speaking of things with H's, unfortunately it sounds like, I was just listening to Monet on the radio, he's sitting with Hosana at the moment. He's gone into sort of a thicket of caterpillar pods and heading down towards the Mulwati, so I don't know if we're going to get a chance to see him. However, Shongile was apparently spotted very briefly on Chitwa Open, but was also seen moving quite rapidly through some thick vegetation towards Little Gari. So what I thought we would do, and it's why we've headed through the Mulwati going back east, is pop on to Chitwa and have a quick drive around over there and see if we can indeed find something. Isn't that cool though? What a lovely way. My first African sunset since I've been back, and not a bad one, might I add. Though I did see some spectacular sunsets while I was in Australia. some really amazing ones from my uncle's house. He's got the best view I've ever seen. Sort of a 360-degree view of his house. And my highlight, I have to just tell you, is waking up early in the morning and seeing all the mist that had sort of settled on the valley below, and then watching the hot air balloons. Because there's just an area, probably about 10 kilometers as the crow flies, where they do parachuting, and also, no, not parachuting, skydiving, that's what I meant to say, skydiving, and then of course also going up in hot air balloons and paragliding and all those types of things. So we'd see all these hot air balloons go up, and then the sun would rise with the beautiful mountains in the background. It was really, really quite spectacular. Over a few corrugations. Now we're just going to pop around the corner to this little pan. We're not far. Let's go have a look here. Now, Kimmy, you're wondering if I saw any rare animals while I was away. Well, one of my favorites was actually seeing an echidna. So I saw many kangaroos, one koala, and an echidna in the wild. So we were driving along, we were going out towards Goffs Bay, which is a little sort of in Victoria. And we're driving out this when my grandparents say, "Warthog!" Hi, Warthog. It's a big warthog too, a big boy. Oh my goodness, do you know who this is? We know this warthog. This is the warthog that chased Gwen out of her burrow. And the reason why I know this is because I saw him a couple of times inside the burrow, and he's got beautiful big tusks, but he had no hair to the edge of his tail. And well, you can see quite clearly he's missing the hair on his tail, and he's a big old man. So I think it's just too much of a coincidence as he wags his little tail around. And I think that it is indeed the same warthog that lives in this burrow, sometimes hyena den, just off of Gowrie Main near Cheetah cut line. How cool is that? Very cool, and he's quite relaxed as well, so I'm not too worried about him running away. So let me finish telling you what I was saying, and I've forgotten. David, what was I saying? We're talking about rare animals. So we're driving, and we're in the countryside. There's not much around. And basically, I saw this thing running across the road, and I just shouted to my mom, "Stop, stop, stop the car!" She thought that something had happened. My poor mother, I think I give her heart attacks almost every single day of her life. And so I shouted that, and she slammed on brakes, and I watched this echidna cross the road. And well, I'm so glad that I didn't jump out while it was on the road, because I was so excited. I almost did too. And oh boy, it's okay, it's just us. We're just talking about echidnas. No worry here. You got a bit of a fright, I think, because I shuffled in my seat. It's okay, big man. You'll probably settle down. It's getting late. You better head on home, because there's young leopards around here, and possibly a big male leopard too, maybe Tingana. So basically, an echidna is like a porcupine, hedgehog type thing, if you were wanting to. So you're not sure, and you probably just pop it into the interweb, and it would give you a good photo. I don't have any service out in this particular part of the reserve, so I can't show you a picture. And anyway, it ran across the road, and I managed to get a photo of it. I did wait very patiently for 15 minutes, because it concealed itself. It sort of brings its skin over its head and over its feet, and it's just like this little ball, almost like a jellyfish. You know the big jellyfish that wash up on the beach? You just sort of see that sort of gelatin part. That's what it was like. But smelly and hard sort of spines on it, like very short porcupine quills. And of course I couldn't resist. I wanted to feel how prickly it was, so I just touched my finger on one of the spines, pricked my finger, and as I did that, it's amazing, they sort of shuffle into you as to try and dig their spines into you, which I thought was an amazing defense mechanism. And I waited patiently, and I even stood downwind of it so it couldn't smell me. And eventually my mom got impatient. She doesn't have the patience like I do, and she told me to get in the car. But it was really amazing to see how concerned everybody was, because I was sitting on the side of the road, and all the cars that drove past us, well, there weren't very many, we were out in the country, is everything alright? You don't get that in South Africa. Everyone just drives past you. Right. So I saw those, and the koala was really cool, finding a koala just sleeping in the tree. That was really nice. And there were kangaroos everywhere, so many kangaroos, which was really amazing, and lots of birds. So I saw some cool things while I was in Oz, but still many more areas to explore. So this is sort of where Shongile is seen. David and I are going to do a bit of scanning about to see if we can spot it. But the sun is starting to set, so So let's go across to Bushwalk now and see if they're on their way home.
Well, we are on our way home, but we got a bit sidetracked. We had an impala starting to alarm call just when we were sitting with the hippos, and it sounded like they were alarm calling towards the Mulawati. Now, we know that Shongile was with Hosana in terms of the tracks going from Chitwa to Little Gari, and so it sounded like the impalas were alarm calling down here. So we just came to check this beautiful section of the riverbed just to see if Shongile is maybe not hanging around here while Hosana is sitting on his termite mound south of us, and just see if there's any sign. We also had a few birds alarm calling, so it's very possible she is here. You can see on the sort of eastern bank of this riverbed, it is very dense, very thick, and not easy to see at all. So Herbie's gone down just to see if he can find any tracks, because like I said, the impalas were shouting and looking down here into this area. The other nice thing is that if you have a look on the bank over there, you'll see there's a really wet section. Now that wet section is an active seep that is coming out of the Mulawati. So when we had that Mulawati flowing, that's an area where water is collected and it is still seeping out of the ground. And that would be a great place for a leopard to go and drink. Even if they don't mind too much sort of really dirty water, water like that is going to be much cleaner and much better tasting. It's been filtered through the sand and it's going to be a lot better for her. So maybe she comes and utilizes this to drink quite often, and so she could be coming towards this area through these thickets, and that's why we just can't spot her at the moment. But unfortunately, there's no sign that we can see, so I'm just going to head back slowly towards where Hosana was, in case maybe Hosana's come north. With the shouting of these impalas, it might have piqued his interest and he might want to come investigate what's going on, and we might see him moving back up into our area. So hopefully one of these leopards pops out for us and we have a lovely finish to our bushwalk. Unfortunately, though, the thing is we've probably got about 5 minutes or so, because it's starting to get very dark, and you don't really want to be on foot with a leopard in the dark. It's when they kind of get the advantage. During the day, they'll see us as a predator of theirs and something that they need to be quite sort of not scared of, but give a healthy respect to, whereas at night the table turns and they feel a lot more comfortable. So you've got to be a bit careful of leopards at night, and so that's why we don't want to be out here too much. Also, our hippo is probably going to come out of the water soon, and who knows which way he's going to go. Just careful, Seb, you're going to walk into a tree. So just directing Seb, because he's walking backwards, which is a talent in its own to be able to hold a camera and walk backwards. So hopefully we'll reward Seb for making him go through all these thickets with a leopard on foot. So Seb earlier was telling me that he would love to see Shongile or Hosana on foot. He hasn't seen one in a while, so hopefully we'll be lucky and be able to get one somewhere here. Now we are coming out right where Hosana was south of us, and maybe we're going to be able to see the vehicles and possibly even him. I did scan around on the termite mound, but it seems like he's lying on the other side of a bush where we can't see nicely. You can see the impalas running away from me now, so those are the impalas that were shouting, and hopefully they're going to be the ones that are going to attract Hosana back onto this side. Now I can hear vehicles just south of me, so I just want to go a little bit forward and just check if they're not coming this way. It might be possible that they are starting to move, because I have an idea of where he was lying and where he was last, so maybe, just maybe with a bit of luck, he'll be coming this way. Unfortunately though, if he's been hunting terrapins and he was successful, then I don't think so. We can see from here where the vehicle actually is. It's straight down into the distance there, and there's a little termite mound that is not too far off where he was lying at the base of a big tree there. So I think at this stage there's not going to be any sight of him. So unfortunately we're going to have to probably call it a day and just wait for maybe him to come north a little bit later, and for Taylor to try and get him a little bit later. Now our hippo is still bouncing around and still causing trouble in the background. Tucker, who's age 4. Hello Tucker, I hope you are enjoying the safari. You're wondering if leopards sometimes scare people. Well, yes, they do. I've been scared by a leopard a few times. Walked around a bush and a leopard has been there and it growls and hisses at you and you get a very, very big fright. So, yes, it does happen. We sometimes see that the leopards hide around in the bushes, and when we're tracking them and when Herbie's looking for them on foot, then they come striding out and they can be a little bit grumpy with you, and sometimes they'll show their teeth, much like what this hippo is doing. So there's been many a person that has been scared by a leopard. That's for sure. And I'll tell you something, Tucker, when you're on a vehicle, a leopard is the most beautiful animal, but when you're walking through the bush and you see that leopard at 3-4 meters away from you and it's snarling at you, then it's not such a beautiful creature. It then becomes a very scary creature and you have to be very careful. Hippo is still playing games. Look at that. Did you see how high he came out of the water? It was almost like he was a porpoising dolphin. He's kind of come out and done a big porpoise and shown us his teeth. So I think it's time that he's going to probably come out of the water, and probably time for us to start moving out of this area and to leave him and let him be for the evening. So I think with that we're going to start moving away. Now, from myself and Sebastian, it's been an absolute pleasure having you guys with us on this bushwalk. We've had a fantastic time. We've seen little things. We've been close to leopard. We've had a displaying hippo. It's been absolutely fantastic. And so we're going to cross to Jamie and see where she is and what she's up to. And hopefully Hosana will come north later.
I am on the northern boundary of Cheetah Plains, so much further away from home than Tristan and the bushwalk team, who have to start making their way back for safety's sake, essentially, as it starts to get dark. Now, in just a few minutes, we will be doing a drive for a school. I would tell you which school it was, but I've completely forgotten. But we will be joined by a school. So for the last 45 minutes of the sunset safari, whatever may happen, we shall be sharing that time with them. And we're always so grateful to all of you, because you've all been so fantastic in understanding our feelings about how important it is to be able to share this with kids of a school-going age who might never have experienced anything like this in their life, and to truly raise an awareness of conservation and just foster a love of wildlife, essentially. So my plan for this evening is to try and get to the hyena den, and hopefully with infrared we will be able to spend a little bit of time with a much maligned animal and perhaps change their mind with whatever impression they may have about spotted hyenas in general. So that's what my plan is for the rest of this evening. I just got to get there first. We're a little bit far away. There's just so much been happening on Cheetah Plains. It goes to show best laid plans of mice and men and all of that. But what a special evening it has been. Really, truly spectacular. And I'm glad we got to see the cheetah, even if they were just a pixel. And we got to see some dancing elephants. I've still got pink elephants in my head. If I'd had signal, that would have been the song I would have played. But as it was, no such luck. And oddly enough, that isn't a piece of music or a song that I happen to just have on my phone. It's a pity, and I feel as though I dropped the ball there. I do apologize. I'm not ignoring your questions. It's just that sometimes our radio communications aren't terribly clear. But Deborah, I think I got the gist of your question, which was, are the big cats more active during the day or during the evening? It is very much dependent on which cat we're talking about, and it differs. Leopards defy rules. By definition, leopards are kind of meant to be nocturnal. Or at least the sort of the height of their activity first thing in the morning as it's starting to get light, and then into the early hours of the evening. I have seen Karula hunting in the middle of the day at 40 degrees. I've seen Tingana walking around where we'd actually had to start the show late because it was so hot that the camera kept shutting down one afternoon. It was with Scott on camera. So leopards wander around whenever. And no matter what the textbooks say, they haven't read them, clearly, because they don't know they're meant to only move around and be mainly nocturnal. Cheetah are diurnal. They're actually technically more crepuscular in that they spend the heat of the day resting most of the time, but on a cool and cloudy day, they might be active for longer during the day, mornings and evenings. And then lions, lions are, again, nocturnal mainly. They spend most of their evening moving about and then most of the day resting up in the shade. But if it's a cool and it's a cloudy day and they're hungry, that might not apply either. So basically the answer to that is it depends on the cat, and also there's no blanket rule. No, we've always got to be so careful of applying blanket rules out here, because the minute we say something is an absolute certainty, the animal does the opposite. We're still learning. We're still learning a huge amount about life out here. Oh, Megs, Gremlin Hollow is approaching. Perhaps I'll find a nice view of the sunset, although I think the sunset's pretty much done now. Let's have a look at the pink clouds. That's what we shall do, because I have a feeling I'm going to be disappearing off your screen relatively shortly. Pink clouds, okay. It was actually a more beautiful skyline earlier, but we were with the elephants and we were distracted. But there's some very pretty pink clouds for you. I was hoping there'd be some nice night sounds. It's always nice, and I often make myself do this. Just sit and appreciate where we are. Sometimes we get caught up in the rush. Sorry?
It's a size 8.
It's a size 8. Oh, Senzo, that's genius. That's exactly what it looks like. It looks exactly like that baboon track. Or even a human footprint, actually, with 4 toes. But it really does. It looks like that baboon track. I was so confused. I was so distracted and on a different train of thought. And Senzo is looking at me going, it's the size 8. It's a size 8. That's genius, Senzo. You're right. A size 8 cloud, indeed. Every time we go past that baboon's tracks now, we laugh and we say, oh look, it's the size 8 baboon. Because it's got the biggest feet in the world. Its feet are bigger than mine. Not even a particularly big baboon. It's just got huge feet. Searching for shapes in clouds, everybody. I think Senzo wins. Hands down. Something's been walking across the sky. Okay. I've never been particularly good at shapes in clouds. I never see the things that people expect me to see in them. But I saw that. Alright, let's move on. Start making our way back towards home. Alrighty, and while I duck through Gremlin Hollow, I think I'll send us over to Taylor, who can welcome the school.
Welcome to the 3 schools that are joining us today. You can see we're looking at a big hippopotamus, but I'd like to welcome Crawford Plains, Kempsville, and as well as College Park. Welcome to the 3 of you. Now, I believe you are all quite young, which is very exciting. I love spending lots of time with all of my young cousins, but enough about me. Have a look at this funny hippo. He's being so cool. Now, normally, I have to tell you, when you see a hippo, they can be a little bit boring, because often you just see their eyes, you see their ears, and you see their nostrils sticking out of the water, and that's it. Like we're looking at now, that's normally just what you see. But this hippopotamus has been putting on a show for all of us this afternoon, and if we're very lucky, are you going to open your mouth? Are you going to jump out of the water? Let's see what he does. No, look at that! Now, I can promise you that this is a wild animal. Just in case you think that maybe I've trained him, I haven't. He is just very, very excited. And normally hippos do this. Normally the big bulls do this when they get frightened, when they get angry, and they'll open their mouths and jump out of the water so that they look big and scary. And especially by showing those big teeth, which, can you believe, they don't actually use those teeth to eat. Those are weapons. But if you do have any questions about hippos or about any animals on safari, but particularly this hippo, ask your teachers, or send those questions through, and then your teachers will send them to us, and I look forward to answering some of them. Now Elise, hello Elise. Now you're wondering, how would we be able to see any animals if it's dark? Well, the most important thing there is to eat your vegetables, of course. I'm sure your parents will be very happy that I said that. But yes, eating things like carrots is great for your eyes. There's lots of other things out there that are in vegetables and fruits that are good for your eyes. So it's always good to eat them. And that's, remember, these animals are eating lots and lots of vegetation. But we've got a special trick, Elise, and maybe we'll show you a bit later. But David, who is a cameraman, and I didn't even introduce myself, did I? So David is on camera, Elise, and my name is Taylor. I actually have a name. He's got a special light. I'm going to show you it. Look here. This light over here is an infrared light, and this allows us to see in the dark, where it doesn't affect the animals, because there's some animals that we can't put a spotlight on. So you'll see I have a spotlight too. Let me get the spotlight and show you what that looks like. So here is my spotlight. See, lots of little tools, and I can put it on, but I don't want to shine it on the hippo. So once the last bit of light fades, we'll show you what it looks like to see animals in infrared. But we'll have to do that a little bit later, because that takes a couple of minutes just to set up. But how cool is that? But the animals can see us. Their eyesight is much better than ours, even at night. And you can imagine they do have to have fairly good eyesight out here. Oh, look at him. I think in his previous life he must have been a dolphin, this hippopotamus. The way he's jumping and porpoising out the water, he's having a great time. Like I said, you don't often get to see hippos behaving like this, so I hope that you are enjoying it. Now, I don't know if he's trying to intimidate us. It's not working. It's making me want to sit here for even longer and longer and watch his antics. It's really cool. But he is absolutely beautiful. Now, he doesn't look particularly big from here. Maybe he's a young boy. Rashawn, you're wondering why is that hippo's teeth so big? So those teeth get really, really big, so that when the males fight, they'll use those as weapons. Now, when they fight, when they start boxing with each other, it can be quite aggressive. Listen, listen. Now, he's talking to everybody, so that's a way that they declare their territory, is by snorting and grunting like that, making that wonderful sound. Now, there's another big dam not too far away from here, probably about a mile away as the crow flies, which is filled with many hippos. And I reckon he's trying to talk to them, maybe trying to talk to some of the girl hippos. And that sound will travel quite far. But I'm going to listen out to see if I can hear the others responding. Because earlier I heard the different dams communicating with each other, which is quite interesting. So, Rashawn, so what's going to happen now is this hippo is going to start creeping closer and closer towards the water's edge, where he'll climb out of it, and then he'll go and look for some supper. So hippos just eat grass, in case you were wondering. Like I said, they don't use those big teeth to feed with. They are just there as weapons to try and make them look big and scary, which I think kind of works, don't you? So, look at there, you see now you can start to see his body. He's actually not a particularly big hippopotamus. Are those scars on his back, David?
I wonder.
I think they are. Look there, can you see? It looks like he's got some white patches on his body. Now, I think those are, sure, that's very sad. Those are big marks. What looks like from here, most likely from a big hippopotamus's teeth. I think they are, aren't they, David? Do they look like scars to you?
I'm not sure.
I think so. I think that they are old wounds. Maybe it's not. He does look like he's got quite a few scratches, and young hippos often get into fights with the big bulls because they get a little bit excited and they try and go in and they try and show a little bit too much interest in the girl hippos. Now, there'll be one big male hippo, big boy hippo, and lots of girls that live in a watering hole. Look at them. Look at his big teeth. Ah, smile for all the children. That's a good hippo. He is so well behaved. He's wonderful, this guy. So he's going to come out of the water now and he's going to go and eat grass. That's what I was telling you. Now, Tana, you're wondering, why do hippos jump out of the water with their mouth open? So remember, they open their mouths to make themselves look scary. So by jumping and splashing, you're basically creating waves and loud noises, so that all helps you make yourself seem bigger and scarier. The hippos are actually not that bad. They have a bad reputation, but as long as you give them space, they really don't mind. But they're getting quite active now. Hippos are most active at night, like I said earlier to Rashawn. He's going to slowly, probably when we leave, or maybe if we're very lucky, we'll watch him leave the water and he'll go about his day, where he will eat for the next couple of hours until the sun rises again, where he'll come back into the water to keep away from the hot African sun, because they've got very, very sensitive skin and they get sunburned quite easily, and they also need to stay nice and cool, so they've got the water to do that. But he is having a fantastic time. I know all of you would be splashing around like this in a swimming pool. Now Jaden, you're wondering if the hippos will come out at night or during the day. So both actually. I've seen hippos out during the day and at night. It just depends. So sometimes when we don't have a lot of food around, so when we haven't had much rain, so you're more likely to see a hippo out of water in winter when it's a little bit cooler. Sometimes they will go out and try and look for food during the day, but not all the time. And in Zambia I actually saw it quite often, even in the summer months, when the hippos were out of the water feeding. But that, I think, was because there was so much green grass right on the banks of the river. So if the hippo needed to cool down, or if it felt frightened, because they don't feel very comfortable out on land, they feel much safer in the water, it was just a quick dash where it could make it straight back towards the water, which I think is why they go out so often. But for this big man, especially in the winter months, well, he can have to walk up to 10 kilometers. He'd walk all the way. Can you imagine walking 10 kilometers one night to try and find some food? Isn't that crazy? So they don't do it too often here. We normally see them in the water during the day and in the early morning, but they've got to keep nice and cool. And under he goes. So I have a question for all of you, and I hope that you're listening very carefully. How long do you think a hippo can hold its breath for? So give your answer to the teacher, and hopefully they will be able to send your answers through. So have a guess. I'll give you a clue. Let me give you a clue. It's less than 10 minutes. That should help you out just a little bit, because it could be a tricky one. So how long do you think a hippo can hold its breath for? Now, one of the reasons why we are staying here is because there were some leopards. You're going to see some lights in the distance, and I think that they're coming closer by the looks of it. There was a male leopard, a young boy leopard, that was seen just in that area over there. Looks like they're leaving, but I wonder if they're coming a bit closer. I'm going to turn the radio up just a little bit. Oh, hang on. I think they're coming here. Oh, this is so exciting. We might get to see some leopards this evening. How cool would that be? Where this leopard is. I'm not sure where exactly they're going, if they're coming towards our property where we can drive, or if they're moving further and further away. Okie dokes. Let's carry on. Hippopotamus, thank you very much for your wonderful time. Let's see if we can find these leopards. Now, it's not just me out here to... No? Right, let's carry on. Let's see what else we can find here. You get my spotlight out. I think we're ready for that now. Some lights on. Oh, a bit bumpy over here. Hold on tight. Now remember, when you do come out on a safari, you don't always see animals all the time. Sometimes you can go 3 hours and not even see an impala, which is an antelope, and they're very common out here. You've got to have lots of patience. You've got to make sure that you search everywhere, in the trees, on the ground, in between the grass, in the sky, because you never know what you could see. We're going to head closer and closer now. I'm just trying to see if I can spot any eye shine towards the boundary. So the boundary is an area that we can't drive over. It's a mutual road between the various game reserves around here. Let's have a quick look. Right, leopards, please come and show yourselves. You've got lots and lots of children who are dying to say hello to you. No, so you can see the spotlights all the way down over there. Maybe they're coming closer because the cars are moving, so that's a good sign. Now, we have an answer for the hippo quiz, and I have to say a big well done to Ryan. You've said that hippos can hold their breath for about 5 or 6 minutes. You are spot on. That is indeed correct. Now I've just lost my mic pack, so I just need to put it back together again so I can clip it on my belt. Can you still hear me though, David? These things happen all the time. I'm covered in cables, and sometimes they come undone. I often pull my earpiece out and then I can't hear what anybody is saying to me. That actually happens a lot too. There we go. I think that's better now. So still stuck in that corner and just a little bit too far for us to see. I don't even think my spotlight can reach that far, unfortunately. But it's very, very thick. You see, we've just had our rainy season. We're coming into winter now. We don't get any rain in winter. So the grass is lovely, green and tall. But I can promise you in the next few months, it's going to change, and hopefully you'll keep watching us regularly so you can see the change with us. And it becomes very tough for the animals, especially something like that hippopotamus that we saw splashing around in the water. They rely on eating lots and lots of grass every single day, and without that grass they will starve. It's very, very sad because it's wild. Remember, we don't feed the animals, we don't touch the animals. This is the wildest areas you will find in South Africa. It's really remote. It's quite amazing. Very, very lucky. So we're going to I think we're going to wait around here and hopefully see if these leopards come a bit closer. But it's not just me this afternoon. Jamie is also out and about searching for some animals. Let's go and meet her.
Hello, hello, and welcome to the kids joining us this evening. And it is evening for us, I guess for you it must be morning, but for us the sun has set and our day is coming to an end, and that is always the most exciting time to be out here. I want to introduce myself. My name is Jamie, and this evening Senzo is the guy behind the camera, and we will be taking you, along with Taylor and Dave, will be taking you on an evening adventure. So why is this time of day exciting to be out here? Well, it's kind of when all of the daytime animals might still be around, but the nocturnal animals, the lions, the leopards, all sorts of things are starting to emerge once again. But it's not just lions and leopards I get excited about, it's nocturnal creatures like bush babies. Now, Matthew, you want to know, very good question, if it is scary being a safari guy or a safari girl. Matthew, I'm not going to lie to you, sometimes it is. Sometimes it can be a little bit scary, and perhaps you'll get the odd safari guy or girl who will pretend that it's not scary, but sometimes you do get scared because the animals are completely wild and they can be unpredictable at times. But because we've got years and years of experience, you get used to it. And to be completely honest with you, Matthew, I feel safer here than I feel anywhere else in the world, because at least I know the wild animals, they're not out to get me, they're not out to attack me, and it's up to me to respond to them in a way that respects them so that they don't feel the need to. So that's within my control, and I'm not scared of anything wanting to come and eat me. Now, sorry, I've seen special little nocturnal creatures in this tree before, but they're not here tonight. There is a type of animal that I really want to show you, and it only comes out at night, and they are so cute. When you see them, you'll understand what I mean. They're called bush babies, and a bush baby is a really small primate that kind of looks a little bit like a, how do I describe this? Like a jumping mixture between a hamster and a squirrel. but they are primates, and they're nocturnal primates, and they're very, very sweet. And that's why I'm using this light that's in my hand. It's to scan the trees and to scan the bushes to see whether or not I can spot the reflection from their eyes. Now, unlike us, animals that move about at night, well, you know, they have to be able to see in the dark. So what they do is they have a reflective layer, kind of in a way, almost like a mirror behind the back of their eyes. And what that does is it helps them to take in any light that might be available. And so they can see much better than us in the dark. And what that does is when my light shines over that layer behind their eye, it creates a reflection that shines back at me. And then I know, oh, there's an animal there, or oh, there's an animal there. And that's how we find things at night. Now, the nice thing about you joining us now is that it's actually winter, or going into winter, so it's nice and cool, which means that you've got a much better chance of seeing unusual creatures. Things like civets and honey badgers. I bet some of you have heard of honey badgers before. They come out a little bit earlier in winter because it's not as hot. So those are the sorts of creatures that we should be excited about finding. And then hopefully, if I've got time, I'm going to take you to see a very, very special creature indeed. Hopefully they're home today. I don't know if they're going to be, but I want to take you to the den of the spotted hyena. I'm really sorry if I get your name wrong. Kamtena, you want to know if animals move about more during the day or more at night, and why? In total, I think that there's probably more movement at night, or at least first thing in the morning and early in the evening. And the reason why is that even in our winter time here, our temperatures can reach in the middle 70s Fahrenheit, so mid-20s in centigrade. So it's hot. In summer, we often go well into the 40s, over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So it gets really, really hot here. And when it gets hot like that, all of the animals like to go and hide in the shade. So it just depends on what the animal is. If it's a leopard that likes to be secretive, they often move around at night. They might also move around during the day as well, but they often move around and use the darkness as cover. Lions as well, because lions get hot really easily, which is why they only move when it starts to get cool, which it usually does at night. But there's certain animals that will only move during the day. Now, Alexis, welcome Alexis. Alexis, you want to know if we see bats. Oh, here are. I was going to try and show you a winged creature that wasn't a bat, but it flew away. Alexis, we do see bats out here. We get two different types. Lots of different species, but two main types. One is an insect-eating bat, which is quite tiny. And one is a fruit bat, which eats fruit. So luckily we don't get any of those vampire bat species that often drink blood from other animals. We don't get them. We only get insect-eating and fruit-eating bats. Where I used to live, tell you a funny story, because I haven't always worked here. I've worked in different places. And in one of the places where I used to work, we had bats that lived in our house. And they would come and watch you while you showered. Or if you were going to the toilet, you'd sit down and then you'd look and there'd be this little bat turning its head at you, sitting on the wall watching you. We got used to it. They were very cute, and they hardly ever flew into my head. Every now and again one got a bit confused and flew into the back of my head or the side of my head, but it didn't often happen. So I actually really like bats. And not too long ago, shame, I got such a big fright, a bat flew into my fan and I thought it had died. And then we went to pick it up and it immediately came back to life and flew away and out of the window. So it was obviously okay. So yes, we do get lots of different species of bat out here. evening. Donovan, you want to know, do hyenas come out at night or during the day? Hyenas are one creature that are pretty much nocturnal. I was trying to show you a bird again, but it flew away. Oh well. Donovan, hyenas mainly move about at night. It's quite unusual to see them during the day. We're very lucky in that we happen to know where one of them is keeping her babies, and that's one of the things that I wanted to try and show you this evening. I'm going to try and get you there before the end. We also regularly get the hyenas coming to visit us in camp. They often wander through the middle, because a hyena is an animal that gets used to people quite quickly. They're quite comfortable with the presence of people. So the hyenas sometimes come and visit us, and that's why it's very, very important out here to never sleep with your door open. Never ever. You never sleep out in the open without keeping an eye on what's going on, because it's dangerous. Look here. Look what we found. Here's a creature that we only really see at night. It's a scrub hare. And it's gone. So that was a scrub hare. I'm going to race us across to where I want to be. Now while we do that, let's find out where Taylor is and if she's managed to utilize her gift for finding chameleons.
Jamie read my mind, because that's exactly what we're doing. Unfortunately, we're not having too much luck with Hosanna, the young male leopard. He seems to be sticking it out on the other side of the boundary, but that's okay. We've got our spotlight on. Turn these nifty side lights on, and let's see if we can find a chameleon. Now, I've been away for like almost 3 weeks now. I don't know, David, you're going to have to help me. You've got a head start on getting your bush eyes back in. And I promise you, bush eyes are a real thing. It takes a couple of days to start spotting things like you normally do, to start hearing birds and things calling over the rumbling of the engine. So I'll be so excited if I can find you all a chameleon this evening. Let me turn that radio down. Now there's also a possibility of a male leopard, a big male leopard popping out. I was talking to Taxon, who's one of the other safari guides in the area, and he said that Tingana was seen. He was in Torchwood though, which is not too far. It's actually just on the other side, on the right hand side of me. So he could be coming this way because he normally walks this route. So we have strategically come into this spot. So hopefully we have a chance of finding a nice big spotted cat, because I haven't seen one in a very long time. And chameleons. So hopefully we'll either find a chameleon or we'll find a leopard. The golden prize would be to really find both, wouldn't it? David, have you seen a chameleon yet? Not looking hard enough. Suppose I'm not looking very well either. We might have better luck finding Tingana. Now he's one of the most beautiful male leopards in this area. Oh, I think. So Megan, I can hear you talking to me, but I can't hear what you're saying. Can you hear what Megan's saying? So I think it's something wrong with my earpiece, which is no good. Please can you say that again? Megan's the director, by the way. No. I cannot. I'm having comms problems. I cannot hear you, Megan. It sounds like you're underwater. David? Can you hear? David says he can't hear either. So I'm not. What did she say? Oh, okay, Megan. No, I cannot hear you. There is a problem. David's struggling to hear you too. He's got you back, but I can't hear anything that you're saying. This is one of the things, because we're out here in Africa, in case you're wondering and thinking I'm being a bit silly, is that there's lots of things that can go wrong, and most of the time we do get it quite well.
Can I give you the question?
You're welcome to give me the question, David. Please, can I have that again?
How many leopards live in a group?
From? Vinit, you're wondering. David's now the director. He's feeding me the questions because he can hear what Megan is saying. Now, Vinit, you're wondering how many leopards live in a group. Well, leopards are solitary cats. Now, Now, what solitary means is that both male, and I've pulled my earpiece out, so now I really won't be able to hear anything, is that it means that both girls and boys, both males and females, mark and defend their territory. So they have specific routes that they will walk all the time, and they will spray urine, and they will also mark with the glands on their cheeks. You know how your cat, if you've got a cat at home, or if you visited someone that has a cat and the cat walks up to you and does this, they've got little scent glands in their cheeks, and they deposit a pheromone onto you, onto a leaf, onto a piece of grass, anything like that. And they do these various things, and that's how they mark their territories, and they make sure that they have that area. Now, you'll often find more females, more girls in an area with only one dominant male. So he's got a much larger territory, and his work is a lot harder. So that's why I'm hoping that we are going to find Tingano, because he does walk right out over here. Now, you can see a leopard in a group though, but that would most likely be mom and babies. But you don't really see leopards with more than 3 cubs. Even 3 cubs is a lot. Normally about 2 cubs seems to be the most common. But maybe we get lucky tonight. I'm feeling very lucky. I just don't know why my earpiece doesn't work. It's a bit strange. And we're still looking for chameleons. So just because I'm not talking about the chameleons, it doesn't mean that I've stopped looking for them. Now, what we are looking for, just to give you an idea, is a flash of grey, almost a silvery grey colour on a tree. It just looks different to all the other leaves, and if we find one, I'll show you how to spot them. That's the best way. And then that's how you find them. But you can only do it with a spotlight. You've got to have real eagle eyes to spot a chameleon during the day. Very, very difficult. I only know one person that is able to spot chameleons during the day. David, you're going to have to relay everything that Megan says, because I cannot hear her, unfortunately. Okay. Is that a chameleon? No, that's not a chameleon. That is a leaf. That is a yellow leaf. Right, that's not what we're looking for. So I might be able to show you how not to spot a chameleon this evening. That might be a bit easier. But it's a nice evening. It's not too cold. They prefer warmer weather. On the chillier nights, they'll go sort of closer towards the trunk of the tree where there's lots of dense leaves, because that actually helps keep them nice and warm. It stops that chilly wind that goes, or that often blows through here, and that's what normally makes us put a jersey on. It's not because the temperature is cold, it's just because of the wind has a chill in it.
I've got a question for you from Shane.
Yes?
What kind of chameleon?
Now, Shane, you're wondering what types of chameleons do we find. So in this area we get one species. It is called a flap-necked chameleon. They're beautiful. They're predominantly green in color. We really need to find one now so I can show you. They really are beautiful. They get quite big. I'd say about the length of my hand. Sort of is how big they get. So where I'm from, the southeast coast of South Africa, we get one called the southern dwarf chameleon, and they're tiny. They're really, probably only about the, no, maybe a bit longer. Maybe the length of my middle finger and a bit. They're really quite small. They're very difficult to spot. But these guys are not too hard. Once you find one, it's usually quite easy. Oh, a spider! Look at that spider, David. Can you see it? It's gone into the middle of its web. That looks like a bark spider. Now these are really cool spiders. They are hard working. Look at it. You see how it's swinging from side to side, adding more sort of lines to its web. And you're wondering, why is this spider working at night? Well, most spiders are actually nocturnal. So nocturnal means that they're active at night time. Diurnal means that they're active during the day. And this particular spider is very special because they only build their webs, well, most of the time they build their webs at night, and then before the sun comes up they eat it all again, and then they hide away. And then as the darkness starts to fall upon them, they start to spin that web. And now look at this, we've gone into infrared. This is an infrared spider. Everyone, remember we were talking about infrared earlier, the special light. How cool is that? Looks like it's what's kryptonite. Oh yes, I can take the spotlight. I forgot about the spotlight being off, but there it is. And you can even see its little web over there. Now, the reason why I said most of the time these spiders eat their webs during the day, it's something that Tristan and I were actually talking about a couple of weeks ago, is that I've seen these spiders with their webs out during the day in forested areas where it's nice and cool, as well as it's a little bit darker. So sometimes they'll keep their webs out, but not all the time. But how cool is that? It's now stopped working, but it will keep adding and keep repairing its web, and on a nice evening like tonight, there are lots of little insects flying around, moths, little midges, and other creatures, and hopefully they'll get stuck in that spider's web where it will race on over, bite them, inject the venom into the insect's body, which helps digest the insides of that insect so that the spider can drink it. Delicious. So they make smoothies, basically. Let's try look for a chameleon. Chameleon? Okay, well, we're going to keep searching, and I'm hoping we're going to get lucky with a chameleon or possibly a leopard. But Jamie's had a bit of time to search for all sorts of things. Hopefully she's had better luck than I have.
Our tailor is absolutely right. The night is full of little things, and most of them appear to be crawling about in my hair. Now, something just flew in and hit me in the face. Oh, no. I don't want to squish it. I think it's gone into my jacket. I don't know. It may be lost forever. Or if it's gone into this, it's definitely lost forever. Some kind of bug. I think it might have been a small dung beetle. We get very used to that sort of thing out here. And you can't really be too scared of bugs because they're absolutely everywhere. Well, you've arrived with perfect timing because we're just about to go around into the hyena den. And I'm really hoping that the hyenas are home, because if Mum isn't there, then the cubs won't come out. But if she is there, then you'll have a chance to see what a baby spotted hyena looks like. So fingers crossed, everybody. I don't know if they're there. I'm hoping they are. We'll just have to go and find out. So there's a secret little road that we know that takes us into the bush and to a hyena den. So hyena den, hyenas have their babies in termite mounds. So what they do is those termite mounds have been hollowed out by an aardvark or whatever else, and they move in there. And the little cubs are actually the ones that excavate the tunnels for themselves. So they're the ones that create, inside the termite mound, they create the tunnels that they live in. And by doing that, it means that the tunnels are really small so that predators can't get in there and find them. Okay, here we go. And welcome to Wesley, who would like to know if hyenas are more related to cats or to dogs. Wesley, even though they kind of look like dogs, actually if you go far enough back, they're in the same suborder as cats. So basically what I mean by that is actually they're not really related to either of those. They are part of their own separate family called Hyenidae family. But if you go back far in terms of evolution, you'll find that there is a very distant connection that is slightly closer to cats than it is to dogs. They're actually more closely related to something like a mongoose or something along those lines, because they have, in the same way that mongoose do and civets and genets do, they have something called an anal gland, which is basically situated, as you might have guessed, on their bottom, and it allows them to produce a very smelly paste that they use to scent mark. That's one of the things that makes them more closely related to mongoose and genet and civet than they are to cats or dogs. Okay, everybody, I hope we're thinking happy thoughts here. Now, Logan, you want to know what do hyenas eat? Logan, they eat meat. They are obligatory carnivores. In other words, they have to eat meat to survive. But, of course, hyenas are famous for having such strong jaws that they can also crush bone. So not just meat, but bone as well. And of course, hyenas are always thought about as dirty thieves that just steal everybody else's food. They do steal food, but they are also capable of hunting their own. I think I've got good news, everybody. I think they're here. Come on, hyenas, please be here. There we go. Okay, we can't stay for too long. And I'm going to take my lights off and we're going to switch to infrared right now. So there go my lights. Fortunately, it looks as though Mum isn't here. Oh, but there you go. Tiny, tiny baby spotted hyena cubs. Aren't they adorable? Too sweet. They are roughly the size of a Jack Russell at this point. And they're one of my favorite little babies to see. Now at the moment, these are the only 2 little hyena cubs here. And unfortunately, that means I'm going to have to leave now. Oh, fight time! I'm going to have to leave now because Mom isn't here. And what I don't want is for the cubs to come out towards me because they're still very, very young. And if something like a lion or a leopard comes through here, they'll kill them. So I don't want that to happen because I'm here. So I'm going to have to leave. But I'm just allowing you a brief glimpse of them while they play in the entrance to the den. Dina, you want to know how many hyena in a den site? Look at the eyes reflecting back at you. It can be anything. At the moment, it's only these 2 little cubs that we know of and their mother Ribbon, but a hyena den is basically a social hub for the whole hyena clan. So everybody comes past to pay a visit and to meet the cubs and to basically keep that hierarchy established. And some hyena clans can be up to 40 members strong, so they could all come and visit a hyena den possibly. But most of the time, the females will actually share the den site when they have their cubs. So you'll get cubs of different ages. Oh, little one's going adventuring. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. As much as I'd love to stay with these hyena cubs, their mum definitely isn't here. So we're going to have to move and head away. Okay, so while we do that, you can see how dark it is without the infrared. While we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor.
Look what we found. We found ourselves a chameleon. It looks like a leaf, don't you think? But now what I want you to do is, remember I said I'm going to teach you how to spot chameleons? We're going to do that now. So watch very, very carefully. You can see it as it starts to disappear. Now the screen is going to go dark, but don't be afraid. It's just me. So I'm going to take the light off and then I'm going to shine it back across and watch for that silvery sheen. So dark. You see how it flashes? Look at that. Can you see that color that I'm talking about? It's almost like a silvery white. That's how you spot a chameleon. And once you spot one, I can promise you start to see them everywhere. So I'm very excited. Now what we're going to do something a bit different. We're going to do chameleon in infrared. Well done, David. That was very smooth. Look at that. And when you're in infrared like this, you actually can't even see the chameleon very well. Isn't that absolutely crazy? It really does blend in just like a leaf. And that's exactly what the camouflage of a chameleon does. Is it's supposed to make it look like it's just a leaf. That's why they've got very, very thin bodies, not sort of fat and wide, so they can blend in on the stick a bit better. And then of course normally they have that lovely lush green coloration. Now sometimes you see chameleons, of course they change color, but it's not because they can change their color when they want to. Now what I'm about to say is quite big, but I'll explain it and sort of a little bit easier. Is basically the response to a chameleon changing color is the physiological response to the external environment. So if a chameleon is perhaps a little bit stressed, if it gets upset, that will make it change color a little bit. Normally it will go dark color, so it blacks and sort of make itself look big and scary. Whereas if it gets hot, if it gets too hot, they go lighter in color. because the darker colors absorb light, the lighter colors reflect the light, so then they don't get too hot. And then, when they sort of go a little bit sort of brown.
Was wondering what colours they go.
Who?
Dartman.
Dartman, you are wondering what colours a chameleon go. It also depends on the species of chameleon. The flap-neck chameleons don't really change to too much bright colours. Like I know, for example, what is it called now? Is it the panther chameleon? It is a panther chameleon. I think I may be making that up. In Madagascar, it's quite a large chameleon, and they go amazing colours. I think they've got blues and reds on them, but again, they can't change that to. They can't go, Today, I feel like I'm going to be blue. I'm going to be a blue chameleon today. I wish they could do that because that would be really cool, but they can't. So it's basically their bodies doing it all by themselves, all the sort of pigments and things in their bodies rushing to different areas, and then it changes that color. I'm trying to explain it so that you'll understand it. Sometimes it's really difficult to explain it when in an easier way, but I'll have to work on those. But that's really cool. Okay, let's change. Let's see if we can get another view, because we didn't get to see its head. Hey. Ah, okay. Well, you'll have to stick with us again, and hopefully next time we'll be able to show you the rest of the body for across to Jamie now.
It's still a few more minutes before the end of our safari. Just a few more seconds. Maybe, just maybe, we'll get lucky and we'll be able to find you something super exciting to end off your safari. I always love driving around at night. You see the most amazing things, and I'm still hoping that I can find a bush baby for you. Is that a bush baby? Nope. That is Jamie's imagination. Sometimes when you really want to find something, your imagination or your brain starts to make you feel like you see it everywhere. And it makes everything, logs and other things, look just like it. Well, unfortunately, we've only got about 50 seconds left of this sunset safari. Though it's been lovely having you all on board. Let me stop for a second while I say goodbye, my goodbyes, so you don't have to stare at the back of my head. It's been absolutely lovely having you all. I hope you enjoy the rest of your school day and that we will get to see you on safari once again. It's time for us to do our quick goodbyes at the end of our 3-hour safari. So thank you to Senzo and to all of the wonderful Safari Live team, because a lot goes on behind the scenes. Well done to the lovely Megan, who's doing a fantastic job of directing. And most importantly, thank you to all of you. I hope that you had fun on the sunset safari. Who knows what may happen tomorrow morning? We'll just have to wait to see and find out. Bye-bye, everybody.